From Mamamia, welcome to The Spill, your daily pop culture fix. I'm Em Burnham.
And I'm Laura Brodnick.
Okay. I've been waiting for this moment. It's been a week, but I've been waiting for longer, it feels like.
But we had the build up longer than a week because we've been talking about this show since it was first announced.
Build up for this show, and I'm so happy that we watched it because we are doing a very special, brutally honest review of Lena Dunham's Too Much on Netflix. So I hope you watched it because we are diving deep, and we're not only just talking about the show and the big themes and what everyone's talking about, we're also talking about what not everyone is talking about, and we're also talking about behind the scenes moments, stuff that you might not have heard, but we have.
Yes. So again, I can't stress enough how there'll be spoilers, behind the scenes facts, and we only do brutally honest reviews if you're not across them for the biggest new TV shows and movies that everyone is talking about, so we can dive deep because we all know once you finish watching a new TV show or a movie and it takes up your mind, you become obsessed with it the way we have been obsessed with this show. All you want to do is talk about it and hear other people talk about it. And guys, we've gotten all your messages, your emails and your DMs requesting this specific show. So here we go.
Can I actually give our listeners a bit of a tip?
Oh, sure.
Because I've just worked out the best way to listen to our brutally honest reviews.
Oh, okay. Wow.
You get your friends over
Okay.
after you've all watched the TV show or movie, and then you play our podcast and then pause and then with each other either agree or argue with what we said, and then press play and then pause again and then agree and argue. Because what happens is whenever you watch a show, and this has happened with me with Too Much, with this specific show, where I was at a dinner with 4 of my friends and everyone's like, okay, have you watched it? Have you watched it? Have you watched it? One person says, I haven't watched the last episode. You're standing outside.
Yeah, because we need to talk about that episode.
We have to do it.
Your poor time management cannot stop this conversation.
No, you need to have unhealthy habits
Yeah.
with cinema and TV like the rest of us.
Yeah.
So you have to watch all the episodes, 10 episodes. I watched them in a night, which I don't recommend. It's pretty
I know,
unhealthy.
because you were messaging me.
I did send a lot of photos of my live reactions to LB. We should actually post them on.
Oh, we should. Emily was crying and she's not a big crier, so I was quite confronted actually.
But I am very, very passionate about this particular brutally honest review.
Yes. Okay, so much to get into. So, Too Much, the new show on Netflix. It's not Lena Dunham's return to TV. Obviously, she was the creator, writer, and star of Girls, which was one of those TV shows that just really changed the shape of TV and really set its own tone, and that has found a whole new audience in recent years, even though it ended back in 2017.
Girls is one of those shows where I wish I could rewatch for the first time.
Yeah, I know there's so many people I know who haven't watched it. And so I said, when they look disappointed when they say that, like, I haven't watched it, I was like, no, now's your chance. And it holds up. In fact, maybe now people would even take it in the spirit in which it was intended, because it wasn't meant to be, even though it is very much about friendship. And that's what I find really interesting about hearing Lena Dunham talk about the line of Girls to Too Much. Like, they're both stories pulled from her real life experiences, even though Girls, the center is friendship, and Too Much, the center is romantic love.
Yeah.
But both of them are meant to be like just these characters who are almost like exasperations of people.
Yes.
They're not meant to be these kind of cookie cutter, lovable, you know, TV characters.
They're very raw, real.
Yeah, they're not meant to be a half-hour comedy, and I think people are a lot of people are only looking at Girls now in the spirit of which is intended.
Yes.
Is that Lena Dunham wasn't the joke, she was in on the joke.
Yes.
When her character says, I'm the voice of a generation, she's tapping into people, even though she actually kind of is, she's tapping into people who think that way at that point in their lives. So even though since Girls ended, she's done a lot of different TV and film, but more behind the camera.
Yeah.
Like she made a really strong choice, apart from doing like a few little cameos here and there, like in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But that's only because she really wanted to stand across from Brad Pitt and stare at him. And she did.
And she did.
At the end of the day, she's just a girl.
What I love about Lena Dunham's comedy is that because of who she is as a person, and I feel like a lot of people made this mistake with Girls, because it was like about friendship and stuff, people just assumed it was like comedy sitcom, and it's not that. It's like, it can be quite dark comedy at times.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I was talking about Too Much and Girls with my friends, I noticed that like, you either loved them or you hated them.
Yeah.
And I think that's because with comedy, a lot of people watch comedy to either feel something deeply or to escape from feeling something.
Yeah.
And Lena Dunham's comedy is the comedy you watch to feel something deeply.
Yes. Oh my God. Therese Vernon. That is so, so, so true.
Oh my God, I'm going to quote that. TM. No one to do that.
So the build up to this show is one of the best things about it, and also one of the best things from the marketing. So yes, Lena Dunham hasn't really been in our screens since Girls. It was a very conscious choice on her behalf. She was also writing and directing so many things. She did that camping TV show. She did like a few movies and things. She also did Catherine Called Birdie, which is the very sweet book adaptation that stars Bella Ramsey. It was actually on that project that she met the man who made this TV show and everything else happen. Louis Felber, the Peruvian English rocker indie musician.
My God. Sounds very sexy.
I know, doesn't it sound so sexy? I'd love someone to introduce me with all those different descriptors. Indie rocker, Peruvian, British, so sexy. So a few years ago, it was during like a lot of the COVID lockdowns, especially like that first big lockdown when all the countries, including the UK, everything was shut. And but you know, it was that time you could also make, if you were filming something like a TV show, you could quarantine and then have one of those bubbles. Remember that? Yes.
And then we like the New South Wales people got the singles bubble.
Oh yeah,
for all of us who live alone.
That's another 6-hour podcast that we'll do one day. But when different productions opened back up, you could quarantine and be in a bubble. So Lena Dunham travelled to the UK by herself, knew no one. She was fresh off a breakup, not fresh off the Jack Antonoff breakup.
Yes, which a lot of people think.
Yes,
that's
which a lot of
about.
people have drawn a line between those relationships, but it's not quite as clear cut as that. So Lena Dunham had broken up with Jack Antonoff in 2018. She was with him all the way through making Girls and the height of her fame, and he was this really cool composer and musician, and she was like the ultimate cool TV girl, and people were very very obsessed with their relationship.
Yeah, and the connection with Taylor Swift, because she was Taylor Swift's best friend and he was Taylor Swift's writer.
Yeah, and very like close collaborator. So their relationship ended. Apparently there was someone in between, some guy who treated her badly. And she just had a bit of a rocky breakup with this other short fling after her very long relationship with Jack Antonoff ended. And like with Jack Antonoff, like she had said stuff on like, you know, publicly, like that she wanted to marry him, and he kind of made a joke of it. She said that she had their baby names picked out and he kind of laughed it off. Like I know there's more to the story than that, but it was this kind of thing of when that their relationship ended, it was kind of seen that she was the jilted one in that, and that people thought that he had hooked up with Lorde, who is seen as the ultimate cool girl.
Was it Lorde?
Yeah. Oh, there is so much. There is so much background.
Because I wondered who it was, because it was way, way too early for it to be Margaret Qualley.
No.
So
this will be important later on when we talk about Emily Ratajkowski's character, because a lot of people do think that she is an amalgamation of Lorde and Margaret Qualley to an extent. But no, people always thought that there was crossover with Lorde and Jack Antonoff and Lena Dunham. And
messy.
Yes. So I can see why Lena Dunham hopped on a plane to the UK.
Yes.
She was like, get me out of this messy world. And she was over there and she had to quarantine, so she was by herself. And then she was feeling really, really lonely. And so she reached out to a bunch of friends. She says she has 3 straight male friends, so she can always name them easily. She's like, there's only 3 of them. And I was like, relatable. And one of these unnamed straight males, not important for this story for him to have a name, was one of
they're not our friends. So
we're not our friends. I don't know. I can barely remember their own straight male friend names, so we can't get into that. But she reached out to this man who had friends in London and said, like, I'm really lonely. I don't know anyone. And he like put out a call, like a burst to everyone he knew in London, and was like, hey, I've got a really cool friend who like I'd love someone to just take her out and show her the sights and just help her get a footing in this city. So it wasn't even like a proper setup or anything like that.
That is such a nice thing to do for a friend.
Isn't that so nice?
I mean, I do it for you.
Oh, I do it for you too. Yeah, no, I would. I'm just really bad at admin. I'd mean to do it, and then I wouldn't send the message.
If I went to Brisbane, would you not message your whole family and be like, hey,
oh no, I would do that. Yeah.
I've got this girl.
I would. No. I would get them to look after you. Absolutely. And this is why you do nice things for people, because you might get a husband out of it. So
it's also a flex to show how many people you know around the world.
You're like, oh, you want me to hook up with someone in London, Paris, New York? Well, let me just look at my phone. I couldn't do that, but other people can. So then she got hooked up with Louis Felber, this musician who she didn't know anything about him, had never heard of his music. He also didn't know anything about her. He wasn't across the whole girl situation. He hadn't watched any of her stuff. He didn't know who she was.
Like, genuinely. Not in like a Simone Biles, like, I don't know my
oh,
wife
yeah,
who's
I don't
like
know the most famous
athlete.
gymnast in the world. No, I actually do understand that indie rocker kind of guy might not have been a cross girl.
Yeah, he's too cool. He's too busy doing drugs and having sex and playing music.
Exactly. And I understand she didn't know about him. So that's two very different worlds.
That's more believable.
Yeah. That's totally fine. So they met one night in London and they just walked around the streets like the characters do in the TV show, talking and chatting, and they fell in love. And less than a year later, they got married in a very chic ceremony. But can I tell you the moment she pitched this TV show to him? The moment she said, I'm going to make a TV show about this?
What?
Because it feels like it would have been just after they got married or something like that. It was a month into dating.
No.
She has recently confirmed, yes. The two of them confirmed together. So both of them were in the interview. I'm like, I have to fact check this.
He's not a Jack Antonoff who just laughs it off.
No. He was serious. So they did a joint interview for The Hollywood Reporter, and it was a month into their relationship, and they had it at this time. They hadn't even walked around outside holding hands together. They hadn't met each other's friends and family. They weren't even calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend. And then Lena Dunham, and I have so much respect for her for this, turned to this man that she has just, but she said she knew straight away she was going to marry him first night. And he later on said he did too, but they hadn't said that to each other yet.
Yeah, but I say that to every guy I meet.
No, I know. I don't recommend that we do this. Or
but now I want to.
I would have told like 10 guys by now. Do you want to make a show together?
Okay, this is good. I might start writing some notes.
Yeah. So Lena Dunham turned to this man and she's like, do you want to make a show with me? A show about our life? And then they did, and that show is too much, and it's currently airing on Netflix.
Oh my God.
Isn't that incredible? So they made it together. That's the thing. Like, I know everyone's saying like Lena Dunham, and yes, she is like the main writer and the main kind of creative force behind it. But Louis, her husband, is also, involved in the writing. He picked all the music. He was the one who really wanted the White Lotus star Will Sharp to play Felix in the movie, who's very loosely based on him.
Great suggestion.
Although not that freaking loosely. They look very
different.
That's why Louis was drawn to him as an actor, and he's like, I want that guy because
I want that really sexy hot man
that
there to play me.
sexy hot man to play me. Exactly, that's what I'd say if I was casting myself. But he had that sort of grungy kind of musician look, but brooding, but also like non-threatening.
Yes,
which I think is very much when you see
a bit puppy dog.
Yeah. And when you see photos of Louis Felber, you're like, he's he's like a grungy rocker with a heart of gold.
That is insane to me. Like 1 month in is crazy, but now that you've said this, the show makes a bit more sense. The show makes
so much sense because
I'm like, oh, so the parts I thought were exaggerated were actually true.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes me think what other parts aren't true that she hasn't quite let on, but I think we can figure it out. So we meet our lead character in the first episode, Jessica Salmon. Do you know that was her name?
Jessica Salmon, yeah, I did.
That's her last name. Also,
Jess. Yeah, exactly. For short.
Also, Jessica is just so the perfect name because I sometimes hate when shows have characters who have these really almost like modern names. Like I know that's not a complete
it's the
thing,
name of the generation.
It's like sometimes shows have a name they pick that's really popular the year the show that comes out, but then you think that woman's in her mid-30s. She wouldn't have been called that.
Yeah,
then.
that woman would not be Maddie.
And exactly. And all these other kind of shows that have these very even like with Running Point, like not to call out Mindy Kaling, but like calling that woman Isla. I'm like, no one was using that name. It was Isla Fisher or no one. But Jessica is so perfect because that character in the TV show and I are roughly the same age, and Jessica was the biggest name in the world then, to the point where I was supposed to be called Jessica. But then my mum opened the newspaper that day to see all the birth amounts, and it was just page after page of Jessica. So she decided not to. God. But like you look at that character, you're like, that's exactly what she would be called.
And that is Jessica. Like she is Jessica, which could be offensive to some Jessicas. We both know a Jessica, and I'm pretty sure
I know about 15.
She'd be very offended.
No, I love this character. I love her. So we meet Jessica, and she is fresh off a very brutal breakup.
Yes, she breaks up with her partner, Zev.
Mm-hmm.
And you only find this out later in the show, or like what actually went wrong with their relationship. But I think that first initial scene of like her breaking into their house where he's with his current partner, Emily Ratajkowski, which is like also the best type of person to cast for your ex's new girlfriend.
It is the most perfect casting. And this is where I love Emrata the most. When she plays these characters where you can see that she as a performer is so in on the joke. Like she knows that she is seen publicly as this quintessential overly sexualized, overly desirable woman who doesn't really exist. And she also is very aware of the fact that publicly she's not seen as a girl's girl.
Yeah.
She's seen as kind of like a man trapper sort of thing. And I think that's why you cast her in that role, because as soon as you see her, all that baggage that we have as women gets projected onto her character. And Jessica also projects onto her so much. That's why she films all those videos. But also, interestingly enough, Emma Ratajkowski is friends with almost everyone in the entertainment industry. Women. She's friends with all women. And she's friends with all women. She's friends with most women.
She's very close friends with Lena.
She's very close friends with Lena Dunham, which is how she got cast. Actually, something to keep in mind as we talk about all the casting is that this is a very rare thing that happens in TV and film. Usually when writers are working on a script, it could be getting made 10 years from when they write it.
Yeah.
And also you could every so often, like, writers write with a particular actor in mind for a part, but there's no guarantee that you would ever get that person because of scheduling or money or their own interest. And again, like, they could age out of the character by the time it gets made. Lena Dunham has gone on the record and said that in this show, she wrote every character with a very specific actor in mind of who would play that character, and every single person said yes. Isn't that wild?
That is wild. But also, personally, I find that quite surprising because Lena Dunham, like, so talented, but she's also quite a controversial person in media. And there were some scenes in Too Much where I just kind of went...
She did say, again, I've been reading a bunch of interviews with her, and she has said in multiple interviews that she does worry, especially about putting that out there, because she wrote with very specific actors in mind. It should also be said that she wrote mostly with friends in mind. Like, pretty much everyone in the show is a past co-worker or a friend of hers. But she does sometimes worry because she's sent things to people in the past, and they've been like, why did you think that I would do this?
Yeah.
Like, why would you think I would do this specific role? But it's really interesting with who she's got in there. And especially, I thought the most interesting kind of casting line that you can see in there is that Andrew Scott has a very interesting arc that we'll get to later. He is very, very good friends with Lena Dunham, and when she was first kind of percolating, like, she was going to make this show, she hadn't started writing it yet, he said to her, you need to cast Megan Statler.
Right.
You need to cast Megan Statler in this thing that is still a thought in your mind. Like, you need to cast her. And Lena Dunham hadn't really heard of her. So she went home that night, watched everything she's ever made, all of her comedy videos. She, like, watching her in the early years of Hacks. And then she was like, this is the perfect actress to play Jessica. Yeah. And so Andrew Scott is responsible for this. Okay. What can't that man do?
Thank you, Andrew Scott, because I love Megan Statler in
She's
this
so incredible
series. And what I really love about her character was she is a plus size character, and like throughout this series, and I think this is exactly what Hollywood has done to me and like especially our generation, where you're just waiting for like the dig on her weight. You're just waiting for it, you're waiting for it, and it never happens.
I know.
And you just like have this relief and this like breath of fresh air. And this is the first time I've seen, like, even like in the Mindy Project, I'm like, she's not even plus size and there's so many digs on her weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Like women's
all
weight
the way through,
in Hollywood, like you just always have one comment at least.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've seen it, and it's not been like that at all. And it's just like, I can't believe it. Like, I couldn't believe it.
It was such an incredible thing to watch. And it's so interesting because obviously, like, we got the screener, so we got to watch it before it came out into the world. And obviously I knew this actress because Hacks is one of my favorite shows, and she is one of the breakout stars of that. And I discovered her on that show, and I went back and watched all her like comedy videos that she's made. And she started off in improv. It's so funny, like in her improv days, she got told she was like a bit too much and could she step out of the group. So I love this moment of seeing her come full circle and like now she's the star. Yeah. But watching her through this show, being someone who, is not that very traditional, especially now with body diversity on screen has gone so far the other way that everyone's very waif looking, that very conventionally thin. Seeing a character have this big love story and have these relationships and fall in love with people. And yes, people critique her and sometimes the way she dresses, but no one sort of says to her, like, isn't it so nice that this man loves you because you're plus size? Like, there's not even a conversation. And when the show came out and I wrote a review, I didn't even put that in my review, and I didn't even want to say it out loud or mention it because it's almost like I didn't want the spell to break of everyone jumping. And I know it's important to have that conversation now, but it's almost like I didn't even want to say it out loud because I just wanted it to just happen and pass and for it to become the norm of what we see. I wanted it to be this thing that wouldn't warrant a headline.
Yeah, and it also reminded me of season 3 of Bridgerton, where Nicola Coughlan gave such a good performance, and all the commentary I saw was like yes, the chemistry, and yes, a lot of the stuff about like pleasuring women and how that was centered, but also more than her performance, it was about her weight and like how brave she was to like have her body on screen. And I was like, is that the whole conversation we're taking out from this whole season, and which she gave a beautiful performance for?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we didn't do the same thing for too much.
Exactly. And it's also hard too, because when you say things like plus size and stuff like that, I think it's really important to remind people that in the entertainment industry, but also in life, that they see plus size as above a size 12. So what you're thinking of, like, it sounds like this kind of like wild phrase, but like that's how it's used within the industry, within entertainment and fashion. So I think that's really important. So we meet Jessica in the first episode, and she has had a very intense breakup with Zeb. Speaking of casting, Michael Zegan, who love him, but it's just really interesting to me that he is his like other really